Welcome to Fair Game. I'm Kristine Leahy. My guest today was a Pro Bowl offensive lineman who won 3 Super Bowls during his 12 NFL seasons, Mark Schlereth. Good to see you.
It is great to see you as well.
Always love talking to you. Here's one thing that you and I have never gotten to discuss, which I've always wanted to.
Okay.
You are notorious for peeing in your pants a lot when you played.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds weird, but we've had other players that have talked about this.
Right.
It's a real thing, but I feel like it started with you.
You know, I'm telling you, it started with me in 1990, playing in a preseason game. Now, this is back in the 3rd preseason game where you used to play the whole 3 quarters, right? That was back in the day. The players don't do that anymore.
Right.
But I was playing this game against the Cleveland Browns, hot, sultry night in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Get done with 3 quarters. Now, I'm the youngest starting offensive lineman for the Hogs, right? I had Russ Grimm on one side, Jeff Bostic, Joe Jacoby, Jimmy Lachey. So I'm the young guy. So I also was the first backup if any center or guard got hurt.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in the game, 3rd quarter, I'm out of the game, but I got to keep my shoulder pads on, and I have got to pee. So I'm sitting on the bench, and I'm sitting with my guys, and there's a couple other guys there, and I'm like, man, I got to go. And they're like, hey, you know, it's almost the 4th quarter, you can just hold it. I go, no, I really got to go. So I literally empty my bladder, like completely on the bench. And they're getting up, they're like, oh, you're disgusting, right? It's dripping off the bench to the point where, you know, at the end, you have the little pee shiver, right? You got to shake it off a little bit, right?
I would not know.
Right, well, no, that's what guys do.
Okay.
So I'm just done. It's dripping off the bench. And literally, I get done shaking it off, and they're like, stink, which was what they called me, was my nickname.
Before, or it became because you started peeing?
It happened to do with rotten fish heads called stink heads in Alaska.
Okay.
So that's where I got the nickname, but the nickname was perpetuated and stuck once, you know, the whole urine thing happened. But the funny thing is they call me and say, hey, we need you right now. The center got hurt. So I run up to the sideline, right? And Stan Humphries is our backup quarterback. And so he goes, let me get a practice snap. Now, I just emptied my bladder. I am sopping wet. And I'm like, all right. So now as the quarterback enters, like he doesn't get his hands in there right off the bat. The first thing he does is kind of tap you on the side of the fanny, right? It's like foreplay, right? He's just letting you know that he's there. And he's got blue 80, blue 80, sticks his hand in, shut! And I snap the ball. And there's just this gigantic splash. And he's like, oh my God, it's in my eye. He's like, get me a towel. Like he's soaking wet with sweat. And I'm like, that's urine, man. That is not. You told him? No, I didn't tell him. I just was like, so anyhow, that's how the nickname stuck with me, you know, the stink nickname. And from that point forward, I was just like, if I had to go during a game, I'd just go.
I am never going to watch football the same.
Yeah, see,
I'm going to be looking at guys, like not rating them on their stats, but I wonder what the level of urine is in that guy's pants
right now. Exactly.
Well, this has been enlightening. I'm really glad that we could just get this out of the way because I've been dying to ask you about it. Let's go back to the beginning. You grew up in Alaska, and then you had scholarship offers from Hawaii and Idaho?
Yes.
And you chose Idaho?
I did.
Why?
I didn't know that I was good enough to play at Hawaii because it was a little bigger school. Idaho 1AA, they were Division I. So I just didn't know if I was going to get to play. And 2, I really came to the realization while I was there visiting, like, I could not wake up to sunshine every day of the year. Like, I think I would go crazy. I want some snow. I want some winter. I want some rain. I want some of that. And I really thought
because you had grown up in Alaska and you were used to it.
Yeah, I really literally thought I might get kind of island fever if I'm here.
Okay.
And so I was like, I want to go somewhere that's a little bit more like home, that has a change of season and has, you know, some winter time and some of that. So those are the 2 reasons I chose Idaho. And it was a fabulous decision.
That's a really mature decision that you made.
Yeah.
And you were drafted 263rd.
Right.
Do you remember that number?
Yes,
I'm
I
assuming.
do. I absolutely.
Do you remember all 262 that went before you?
No, but I do remember the top 5.
You do?
The top 5 because 4 of the 5 are all in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's a good
Troy
draft.
Aikman was number 1, right?
Not bad.
I think Barry Sanders was 3. I think Deion Sanders was 4. And Derek Thomas was 5. And number 2 is the only guy that didn't go to the Hall of Fame was Tony Mandrich.
So for you then, considering how you almost like didn't even get drafted,
right?
Were you just happy to get drafted, or were you disappointed that it took so long?
No, I was happy to get drafted. I mean, I had no idea that I would get drafted. I thought that I was going to go to the Bengals because they kept calling me. Their offensive line coach is a legend, a guy by the name of Jim McNally. And so he would call me just about every round. And he's like, I'm standing on the table for you. You're going to be a great NFL player. And he kept calling me. So when the phone finally rang, and he had called me probably 4 times or 5 times during the course of the draft. When the phone finally rang, I thought it was the Bengals. So I picked up the phone, and it was the Washington Redskins. And it was the first time I had talked to them. Although I had, worked out for them, and they had sent scouts out to work me out. As a matter of fact, Billy Devaney, who was the general manager of the Rams for a while, he worked me out and wanted to make me a tight end in the NFL, an H-back. But anyhow, so I ended up getting drafted by them to play center. And
were you cool with that?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't matter.
Are you kidding? Well, one, you get to go and learn from the Hogs, right? One of the most legendary offensive lines in all the NFL.
It's the best offensive line in history.
One of them, there's no question. That 91 team, you think about this, that 91 team consisted of Jimmy Lachey, Russ Grimm, and Raleigh McKenzie, because Russ started the season, Raleigh finished it. Jeff Bostic, myself at right guard, and Joe Jacoby, who should be a Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah.
Unbelievable offensive line. But in 19 games, so 16-game regular season, 3 playoff games, on the way to a world championship over the Buffalo Bills, we gave up 9 sacks in 19 games.
Insane.
Check out our YouTube channel, Fair Game on FS1, to catch all the best highlights of our show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.